This is Mike, and I'm going to be looking at Dawn of Peacemakers from Snowdale Design. This one has a really cool theme, and there's a lot of flavor text and fun little touches that kind of show you the story of the game. But to give you the basics, this is a land where animals kind of take the places of humans, and the Macaw Empire, a little portion of it, has basically been shamed by their imperial court, and so they've decided somewhat unwisely to invade their neighboring Ocelot clans to try to take some of their lands to make up for the shame and the lands they're losing in their own controlled spaces. But what's a really neat touch with the game is that you are not trying to win the war for either one of these sides. You actually control a neutral adventurer who is trying to prevent either side from gaining an advantage in the hopes of bringing the war to a quick close with minimal loss of life, hence the name Dawn of Peacemakers. So even though there's a war as the backdrop for the game, you're trying to kind of go against the grain and stop the war before it gets too bad. The game is played over the course of 12 scenarios, and today we're going to look at scenario 1, and they get progressively more complicated, and new rules get added in, and it has that fun thing of opening boxes and discovering like new hidden elements and new cards you didn't know about. But the basic scenario is kind of like a tutorial, and we're going to see how the game works and the basic rules by playing it. As you can see with the setup, the initial battle kind of skirmish is taking place on a river. I've got my adventurer here in the middle. We've got the ocelots on some defensive terrain. We've got a tower here, has a little shield bonus. We'll get to that later, and has a torch, which is a motivation bonus. Another ocelot on some defensive rocks. This little dagger sword fighter guy is all by himself on just regular plains. And over here we've got 3 units of macaw spearmen with this cowardly leader kind of hanging out behind them, pushing them forward. And in terms of actually winning the game, both sides have this motivation track. Here we've got from the macaws, they started a 6, and the ocelots started a 4. And every time they lose a guy, they're going to go down by 1. And additionally, there's a bunch of cards in the ploy decks, or not a bunch, 2, which we'll see a little bit later, that also lower the motivation by 1 each time they're drawn. And the idea is if either side goes down to 0, then that side just completely is routed and surrenders. And that's bad because it'll lead to more casualties, to them getting chased and massacred. So what you want to do is get both sides to this 1 or 2 green area. And if you can do that simultaneously, so they're both sitting in there, then they both quit the battle without as much loss of life. So you want to kind of weaken them both, but not completely defeat either one. On the gameplay side of things, the players are playing these cards that can let them influence what the enemies are doing, can let them move. I don't have any, but can also add fortification tokens to defend specific units. And they all also have little special effects, and you have to use each card for one of these abilities, and you draw more cards at the end of every turn. So basically, you play cards, you draw some more cards, and then you see what the armies do. So the army actions are handled by these dual AI cards. The ploy deck is unique to each side, the macaws and the ocelots. The task decks are more generic, but they are specifically set up for the units on the board to have them do stuff that makes sense for them. And for now we have move orders, which just move them towards each other, and it's very simple. They always move just straight ahead. We have cover orders that will defend them for the round, and then strike orders where they attack each other. And the key thing is, we can somewhat influence these cards, but we can never control them completely. And every turn after we've done our cards, we're going to flip over cards for both armies, and they're going to do stuff that we're not fully in control of. They might attack when we don't want them to. They might move when we want them to stay back. And that's going to lead to motivation fluctuating, and we're just doing our best as individual adventurers in the middle of a crazy conflict to try to keep people alive and not let things get too bad for either side. Each unit in the game has their own statistics, by the way, and they're fairly consistent, especially early on. Later on, they get a lot more varied. But here's Ocelot Archers. There's one of them on the board hanging on the tower. This is the amount of damage they do, 3. The range they can shoot at, most people have 2, but these guys have 3. Their innate defense, most people have 0, and their basic life, which all the basic units have 5. So let's look at what I have available for my first turn. I have a lookout card, can give me 1 influence. What that lets me do basically is I can pick an army that I'm sharing a space with. That's called a companion units army. and I can either look at the top task card or the top ploy card. After that, I can add more cards to get more card draw, so I could look at up to 3 cards in this case, and then I can order them in whatever order I want. So let's say they have a strike on top and I don't want them to attack each other, then I could take the move that was second from the top and make it the new top card. Movement is very basic. Every space just costs 1 movement, and each foot gives me 1 movement. And then additionally, I can play them for their ability. So again, companion units are ones that share my space, so I can either be in a space with the blue army or the red army. In this case, companion units have stealth. That means nobody can shoot at them unless they're adjacent. And Friendly Guide's a really powerful one. It lets me, as I move, pretend that I know the best way for the army unit and move them along with me. And I will note that sometimes the best move is not to play anything. I only have 2 cards here, so I might just want to draw my 4 cards for a single adventure at the end of the turn and just see what the armies do. But I actually like being able to move one of them right away, so let's look at the board and see who I might want to bring along with me on a nice little shortcut. So to zoom right in on the action, the Ocelots definitely have the advantage in defense here because they have 2 things that are give them extra defense. But they have way less motivation, 4 versus 6, and they have only 3 units to 4. So ideally, I'm going to be doing things to weaken the macaws in the beginning, and then I can work on weakening the ocelots if necessary later. I'll also note that I'm on the bridge, and I never get attacked. I'm just like one guy. I can kind of go wherever I want to. But the river actually makes units weaker. So if I wanted to bring 1 unit with me, I could move this guy out in the open up to either one of these defensive places. I could maybe bring this macaw unit up into the river to make him an easier target. I could just push him back so he's out of range of these guys. I have a lot of options. I kind of like the idea of giving this guy a defensive bonus as well, although then if he moves, he's going to move into the river instead of the bridge. So for now, let's go ahead and use my Friendly Guide. So I can move a companion with me 1 space. I'm going to use Lookout to get 3 movement. And I'll note that movement is kind of like a pool that you can spend any time you want on your turn. So I can move 1. I can also just bring the commander away. But anyway, I don't like both these guys being able to attack right off the bat. So I'm going to go 1. Let's put him with his commander. 2. And then I'll get, with my 3rd movement, kind of back toward the front so that I can get over to the red army if I need to influence them on a moment's notice. At the end of my actions, I get to draw 4 cards in a single adventurer game. These draws are split across the players if you're playing with 2 or more adventurers. Okay, I got another Lookout. This one's mixed groups. I can basically force whatever group would take the action, and this is something I didn't mention. Each of the units has a shape on their base. This spearman has a star. And then the macaws also have circles, so they've got 2 stars and 2 circles. The ocelots have 1 circle unit and then 2 cog units. So as you'll see in a second when I activate them, it'll say which unit activates. So this one is a mixed group. It lets me force the army that I'm standing with to activate their star instead of whoever they wanted to activate, so I can kind of control them a bit. And this is also the 3rd action option, besides influencing their army cards and moving. This is a fortification. I can place a little fortification token on my space or adjacent to it, and basically it'll take damage for a unit there before they get hurt by something else. Okay, I got another one of those. And then distraction, another big movement. All my companion units have their range reduced to 1 during this round. So a nice way to prevent people from attacking with that one. Okay, now we go over to what the armies are doing, and this is going to kind of finish the rules explanation for the game because this is like the big kind of meat of it. So again, I flip over 1 card for everybody. I've got a closing move for the macaws and a revoked move for the ocelots. This is not ideal. So revoked is very important. There's 2 of them in each ploy deck, and it says at the start of the army phase, cancel the task part of the order, so they're not going to move at all, and lower the side's motivation by 1. Just to remind you, the ocelots were only at 4 to start, so now they're already down to 3. They were already the underdogs, and now they are already losing motivation when they see this big macaw force marching on their bridge. So they don't move at all, and that's resolved immediately. But looking at the other side, you'll see at the bottom I have normal speed. There's also slow and fast ploys, but normal is the most common. And then you got move, cover, strike. So all fast orders resolve before normal, all normal resolve before slow, and then breaking ties within there, moves happen before cover, cover happens before strike. So in this case, the other side's not doing anything because they're revoked, but let's see what the macaws are doing. Because it is affecting the star units, which I'll show you in a second, is the leader and one of the spearmen. It says just before this task, move each unit in this group forward one space, and then they're going to move forward another space. So they're going to move forward twice. There's skirmish rules, but we're not going to worry about them because we are not playing skirmish. We are playing the cooperative version of the game. So going over to the map, I've got our leader over here, the commander. He does the closing and then the regular move, so he's right on the bridge. And then this guy goes right into the water, which is actually going to make him easier to kill because of that little vulnerable icon right there while he's wading through the water. So, man, they are just right up in those guys' faces right off the bat, aren't they? Now, I do want to call out this leader for a second because leaders do have some important things about them. So this is Commander Sochi Yamak, and he, you'll notice, has basically the same attack statistics, 3 attack and 2 range. That's pretty standard. He does have 1 defense, and he has a whopping 8 hearts, so he takes a while to defeat. But very important, if he is injured, which means if he's at half life or less, so basically if he's taken 4 damage or more, then his side's motivation goes down by 1. And very important, the Ocelots don't have a leader in this scenario, so they don't have to worry about this. But if a leader unit is defeated completely, and it's the last leader for their side, their entire side immediately drops to 0 motivation and they run away. And remember, I don't want them to drop to 0 motivation. So this guy's really tough to hurt and can also weaken his side's motivation, which I like, but I don't want to let him get defeated completely or it could be really bad for this battle. So we end each turn by checking for a game end condition, which would be either one of the armies in 0 motivation or both of them in the green 1-2 motivation. Neither has happened, so we go to round 2. Okay, so looking at the board, I want to make sure that these blue guys aren't going to do some devastating strike on the Ocelots. I'm not as worried about the Ocelots shooting back at them because they won't be able to defeat the commander in one go, and they probably won't be able to defeat that spearman either. So with this turn, I'm going to focus on trying to make sure the blue guys don't do anything too terrible. And I'll note that I can, as long as I'm sharing a space, as long as a companion unit is anybody in the blue army, I can look at their army cards. So I don't have to be next to these guys to see what they're going to do. I can just get like the report on what the army's doing and influence it overall. So I have a few options here. I could just play the basic cards and see what they're going to do and kind of change it around. But I could also be a little tricky and play this mixed group. The circle units are way back, and only one of them is in range of shooting anybody, whereas the leader and the spearman are the one who are right up in the Ocelot's faces. So if I played this, I would force the task being performed this turn for the macaws to be on the circle units who are out of range instead of the really dangerous leader and spearman. So instead of using a whole bunch of cards to look at what the macaws are doing, I think I'm going to do that. So I'm going to play this. And again, it'll stay in play for a moment and force the macaws to activate their circle units this turn. I'm going to get 4 more cards at the end of the turn. One of my favorites, food poisoning. I can basically feed some bad stuff to one of the soldiers on my space and do 2 damage to them, getting them closer to defeat. Probably going to do that next turn. Another distraction. Encouraging words. I can give somebody guard this turn. What that means is when somebody attacks, you'll see how they have this like kind of order of attack. With guard, everybody attacks that person if they can. So my encouraging words actually often lead to somebody getting defeated, but that's really good when I want to kind of focus fire on somebody. And then finally, false order lets me look at the bottom card of an army's order deck, either the task or the ploy, and I can choose to put it on top if I like. So I have a lot of cards for next turn. I'll be able to do a lot of good stuff. This turn, hopefully, my little switch to the circle option will be enough to protect my people. Let's see what our friends choose to do this turn. The macaws are doing an evasive strike with circle. So my mixed group actually didn't end up making a difference because the circles were getting activated anyway. So there's a normal speed strike, and basically all they're going to do is they're going to move away 1 space after they attack, which is going to be nice for me because they're going to be really out of range and out of action for the little while. Going over to the Ocelots. They're going to do a reckless strike with circle. Oh my gosh. So each unit in this group deals and takes double damage until the end of the round after adjusting for guard and stuff. So Circle is attacking for both armies. For the Macaws, they're going to run away afterwards. For the Ocelots, they're going to do double damage, but also take double damage. Let's see how that actually affects them and how striking works. So both the Ocelot Warrior, who's a circle over here, and the two Spearmen, who are circles over here, have the exact same basic stats. 3 attack, 2 range, no armor, 5 life. In this case, you'll note that only this Spearman is in range of that Ocelot, whereas this guy can shoot either of these guys, and he's got range to nobody. They're all 3 away or more. So how priority is done is they always attack the closest person, and then if you have multiple people, so like this Ocelot could attack either of these guys, they'll attack the one directly in their army's little direction of engagement, which in this case will mean that this Ocelot is attacking the commander directly in front of him. So he will not attack the guardsman. And this guy is going to attack the only guy in range, this Ocelot warrior on the rocks. Okay, so these are both normal speed strikes, so they happen simultaneously, so if one guy got removed, then it wouldn't actually take effect until the end of the round. So this guy is attacking him first. He's doing 3 damage. If there were fortifications, we would remove them first before applying any shields or anything, but there aren't. The Ocelot warrior has no shields himself, but this subtracts 1 damage from the attack, so 2 damage is done to him, leaving him with 3 life left. And to mark that, you just put 2 little damage tokens next to him. And that guy is okay for the moment, but he could be finished pretty quickly. And then don't forget, both of these guys had evasive, so they're going to move backwards. I will note anytime that a unit you're a companion with moves, you have the option to follow it. But I feel like I have to get to the front lines here, so I'm actually not going to follow him. I'm going to stay where I am. So the Ocelots are going to respond in kind. This guy's doing double damage, remember, so 6 instead of 3, but not quite, because it said that first we adjust for armor, and the commander does have 1 shield. So he lowers the 3 damage down to 2, and then that 2 damage is doubled. But, gosh, the commander still took 4 damage in a single attack. That is half his life gone. And he now counts as injured, as I had mentioned, which means because he's cautious and cowardly, his side's motivation goes down to 5. I like that a lot because now I'm moving them down towards the 2 that I need to win, but I don't love that he's half dead and one more big attack could finish him off. I have to kind of keep him alive now. All right, so looking at the board, I kind of have 2 different priorities here. I want to get to the commander, and I think maybe put some fortifications on him so that if he gets attacked again, he won't be defeated. But I'd also like to get this Spearman defeated because, again, I need to lower the Macaw's motivation 3 steps to get them into the green, whereas the Ocelots only need a single step. So I don't know if I'm going to mess with the Ocelot's orders at all this turn. I think I'm going to run over, maybe even all the way to this guy, poison him, and then also try to put some fortifications on the commander. So let's go back to the cards. Okay, so first I'm going to try to get to that Spearman hanging out in the water. I have a 3 movement card here, so that'll be enough to get me over to him. And I'd like him to be defeated in a single attack, so I'm going to use food poisoning, which will give him 2 damage tokens immediately, since I'm sharing his space. So that leaves him with 3 life left, which is the attack value of this archer standing right next to him. Even if he wasn't already weakened by being in the river, that would be enough to finish him off. Now, unless you think I'm going to stop there, I also don't want the macaws to turn around and blow up all the ocelots while they're still in their faces. So I am going to go in an influence, since I'm on a blue guy's turn. And, let's see. I want the movement of the distraction, but I also have lookout. So let's go ahead and use lookout for 1 influence, and I'll go show you how that works. So I can only influence the order cards of the blue army, the macaws, because that's who I'm standing with. And I can look at either the top card of the ploy or the top card of the task because I had a 1 influence icon. In this case, I want to do task because I'd rather them not strike, or at least make sure it's a strike is not going to be too devastating. And this is exactly what I didn't want, which is a strike with the stars. The guy's right in front of the ocelots right now. So how this works is I can now spend as many additional cards as I like to draw more cards from either deck, and then at the end I reorder both cards according to the deck they're from in whatever order I want. So I'll go and use my mixed group, since it wasn't too effective in the first place, to draw another card from the task and hopefully have a better option. Okay, this one's called Change of Plans. What happens is I immediately stop. I keep the one strike card I've drawn, but I take all of the discards, so these strikes and moves, and I shuffle them into the deck, and then I do get to draw the card, so I don't lose the second card I paid for. I just shuffle before I see it. So let me take a second to shuffle. Okay, the second option is covering for the circle units who are way out of bounds. So that'll be good enough for me. I'm going to put that on top, but I do know that the star units will be trying to strike next turn unless I do something to change that. Finally, lest I forget, I did want to fortify the commander. Unfortunately, I don't have any double icon ones, but I'm going to use this encouraging word. This is one fortification icon. And what this lets me do is put a fortification on a space, either on my space or within one range. I will note that you can't put it on rivers, but bridges are okay. And that'll take 1 damage before anything else, before I even calculate defense abilities and that kind of stuff. Now, it's worth noting that that does not belong to the unit. It belongs to the space. So if the commander moved away, for example, he would no longer have that fortification. It would just be sitting on the bridge for anybody to use. Again, I get my 4 new cards. Emergency Care. That heals somebody for 2 damage. Not sure I want to use that on the commander, though, because I like him being injured and losing motivation for his side. Choose a companion unit, discard the top card from its army's order deck. That's a nice one if you see a strike you don't want, for example, and you don't want it to come up later. Natural Materials lets you put 2 fortifications anywhere. I like that one a lot. And Carrier Pigeon lets you kind of cooperatively give cards to each other, but here it's just I can use it to draw a different card, so nothing too special there. Okay, go to the macaws. They're going to do a twin cover. This is slow, so their cover won't even apply if the ocelots strike at them quickly. This is for the circle units who are so far out of range, I don't think it's going to even apply anyway. But what Twin would do is they would perform their task twice. So they would move twice, cover twice, strike twice. If they were striking, though, they'd do less damage overall. But the double attack could be really devastating. So here, it's not really going to matter much if the circles are going to cover, and they're so far out of range, nobody really cares. As for the ocelots, we got another change of plans. After shuffling, we got a strike with circle. But there's an unexpected ploy. I roll this die, which has numbers from 1 to 12, but also has each of the 3 insignia in equal sides. And basically I'm going to roll, and it might not be circles. I might, if I get the cogs, activate them instead. And I did. So it'll actually be the cogs striking, which might not be good for the commander. Let's go look. Okay, so the circle macaws over here are covering, but they're so far out of range, no one's going to really worry about them. But we do get our cog units, both of these guys attacking. This guy wants to attack the one closest to him, who is my friend here that was poisoned. And with the poison, he's doing 3 damage, plus 1 from him being in the river. So this guy is defeated. And he goes right over here on the defeated units track, brings the macaws down to 4 motivation now, only 2 away from where I want them, so they might stop this fight. As for our friendly Ocelot warrior, he's going to do a 3 damage attack against the commander. So first, the fortification is removed. So 2 damage is still coming. The commander's armor stops another one, so only a single damage gets through. So he's still got 3 life left, not in immediate danger. Well, he's in pretty immediate danger, especially if Cogs activated again, they would combine attack him and really destroy him, but he's alive for now. And checking victory conditions again, we've got 3 motivation for the Ocelots, 4 for the Macaws, getting pretty close in this quick scenario, so let's see if we can wear them both down kind of equally. So if you remember, the next order on top of the Macaw deck is going to be for the commander to attack, which will just hurt this uninjured Ocelot. I don't really have a problem with that. What I want to make sure is the Ocelots don't defeat the commander. So I'm going to first run over to them, and I'll use this little distraction for 3 feet. But, yeah, I guess for now, well, I want to be close to the action, so I'll be right there. And then I'm going to, well, you know what, I will, before I forget, go ahead and use natural materials to put 2 more fortifications on the commander. That should keep him alive for the foreseeable future, since he's already got his own armor going on as well. Well, you know what? Maybe it won't keep him alive because, like I said, they combine attacks. So this would not be 2 separate 3 attacks, each facing his armor separately. This would be a combined 6 attack, which -2 for the fortifications, -1 for his armor, would still do the 3 to finish him off. So, never mind. 2 more fortifications. That bridge is not going to fall. Now, I've only got 3 cards left and only 2 of them with influence, so I don't really have a good chance, even if I find a strike on top, of being able to do much about it. So I'm going to try instead is a false order. I'm going to look at the bottom card of the Ocelot's order, and if it's not a strike, I'm going to put it on top. So looking here, I've got a circle move on top, or bottom, which won't do anything, so that's a great one. Oop. I'll pretend I didn't see that. That's a great one to have on tops, because it'll ensure that they're not going to kill the commander this turn. Okay, I'm down to 2 cards. When we get 4 more, another distraction, second emergency care, another carrier pigeon. Got some doubling up right now. A 3rd carrier pigeon. So I might just want to reuse those next turn to draw cards that are potentially better, because those powers aren't really doing much for me. Okay, look in the macaws. We already knew they were going to strike, and it's just a regular strike. So a normal speed attack with the star group, which at this point is just the commander, because the soldier got defeated. As for the ocelots, they've got a bold move. So bold would be a die roll to adjust their attack. Really glad they're not striking. But instead, the circle units are just going to try to move. Both ploys were normal speed, which would mean the move would happen before the strike. But in this case, remember, they're always trying to move straight towards the other side's units. So he cannot, because units from different armies generally can't occupy each other's spaces. You might see that happen a bit later. So then we just go to the strike, and he's hitting this guy with no armor. Again, he will target the guy directly in front of him. And then if there was nobody there, you go clockwise around the units. So he would go around to eventually shoot in this guy. But he does do 3 damage. We've got 2 ocelots close to dying, which would get them where we need them for motivation, but neither of them finished off yet. Alright, so like I said, I'm going to use these 3 carrier pigeons to draw 3 new cards, because I'd rather have better special actions available. Okay, I get another false order, lost missive, discard a card from the top, and a 3rd emergency care. So I can heal people all over the place, which will be useful once I see who needs to be healed. But bad thing is none of these have influence. So I actually only have 3 influence altogether. And, let's do another false order and see what's on the bottom of the Ocelot deck again. See if I need to do anything else to stop them from attacking the leader. Okay, strike with circle. Well, that's a lot better than the potential strike by the cogs. I'm okay with that being on top, just so I at least know what I'm in for. Then I could do more, but I think I'm going to stop there because I have so few influence, and right now I at least know what's going on, so I don't want to go over to the macaws and try to influence them with so few options available to me. Okay, again, encouraging words for guard, another false order, more natural materials, and local contacts. This is a nice one. I can look at the top card from any army's order deck, whether I'm in their space or not. Okay, the macaws, I have no idea what they're going to do this turn. Oh, it's a revoked. So the circle guys would have moved to get themselves into range, which might have helped me, but I'm really happy that the motivation is going down and the movement is canceled entirely. The revoked is going to move the macaws down from 4 to 3. So if I can defeat one of the circle units or get another revoked, then the macaws will be ready to withdraw, getting me the win potentially. How about our friends the ocelots? Oh, geez. This is... So I put that circle on top. I forgot about the reckless. This could be bad. Now, the doubling happens after applying fortifications, so actually we'll be okay. We'll be okay, because we have so many fortifications there, it's not actually going to get doubled. But let's go look at the map to see. So it's just a single circular unit, thank God, because if both these guys had combined attack with doubling, that would have been really bad. And again, fortifications always go away first. 3 attack, 3 fortifications. Nothing gets doubled because the fortifications cancel the entire attack, and the doubling only happens if it's going through to the unit itself. So the commander's looking a little less defended, but he's still alive. Okay, so we got a 3-3 tie right now. I'd love to get one of those weakened Ocelot units defeated to get them where I need them. And then the macaws are tougher because I can't let the leader die, but the other units are way out of range, so... And there's only one more revoked card out of this whole deck, so it's a while to wait for that. So I think I might have to get those other units to move up somehow. Okay, so I do have more options available to me this turn. I'm going to go ahead and add some fortifications back to our friend the commander. Put him back in a more defended position. Yeah, I think I do want to mess with his orders more than the ocelots and get him either attacking somebody or moving up his friends. So I'll go and use this distraction since it's not really helping me much right now anyway. And let's look at the board and see where I want to move. I'm thinking I should be getting one of those guide cards that lets me move somebody pretty soon. So I'm actually going to go all the way over to this guy. And if I get a guide card, I can move him within attack range to help finish off one of these guys and also maybe get shot himself. So that's what we'll do for now. And then let's also look at their orders and see what we want to do with that. Okay, so I'm going to use one card first, and I'm looking for either a circle move or a star attack. Star cover, not what I'm looking for, so let's dig a bit deeper. Going to use local contacts to do another one. Circle strike. That's a complete waste unless they move first. Oh, man. Now, this could get expensive. Let's do a third one. Star move. Also not going to help me because the leader's already right up in there. Okay, a fourth one. I think this is a tactical mistake. I might just have to cut my losses and stop a second here. Circle strike again. Jesus. So I can either use false order to get one more card, which might help me better, or I can look on the bottom of the deck. My gosh, there's only 2 cards left. I'm just going to use it for a regular draw and give myself as many options as I can. Change of plans, so we're going to reshuffle and see what the last card is. We finally come up with circle cover. This is really bad for the macaws. I might just have to dig through their ploy deck and try to find the revoked instead. Okay, so what do I actually want to happen? I guess in case the leader gets attacked, I'll leave the star cover on top. And then the rest of these are pretty much dead. But I'm going to put these circle strikes down to the bottom so that I can, in case, maybe actually get them in play later. Well, that poor decision-making left me with only 2 cards with no influence, but let's see what I can get new for next turn. Okay, got some encouraging words again. Some food poisoning. I'm not sure that'll help me this time. Mixed group and natural materials. Darn, I know there's another one that'll let me move the guy into range, but I did not get it. That's not great. Okay, go to our friends. Oh my gosh. Oh, that was great. That's really lucky. So that revoked cancels the cover order. Hopefully the leader doesn't die, but does get the macaws into 2 motivation. Now, there are no more revoked, so as long as I can keep the leader alive, they should just stay there waiting for the ocelots to match them. It would be lovely if the ocelots just got tired here and also got their revoked. Unexpected, so I don't know who's going to do it. Change of plans. Let's see what we get next. Our replacement was a circle cover. So everyone's covering and not really doing much this turn. But I'm fine with that because the macaws are now ready to withdraw if I can just get the ocelots down by 1. I got really excited for a second with this round because I thought that was a star, which would have let me change one of those circle strikes into a star strike. But unfortunately, that is not what it is. And I don't really have enough influence to make sure that these guys attack. So now that I got the macaws where I need them and don't really need the warriors in play anymore, I'm going to move back to the action and try to keep the ocelots from defeating my friend and hopefully find their revoked, which would set everything up perfectly. So I am 3 away from any ocelots, so don't really need the guard one, so I'll use, well, I'm going to use all this emergency care because I need the influence more than I need the healing. I want the commander to stay injured so that he keeps his side weak. So I have up to 4 movement, and I'll go ahead and use all of it and get right on my hopeful victim for the commander at some point. Now, I'll note that I cannot food poison someone who's already damaged, so I can't do the final 2 damage to the ocelot and get them ready. But I can make sure that they don't kill my friend. Although, I'm going to wait for a second because he's already got, well, it can't hurt. I'm going to add 2 more fortifications to his space because I really don't want him to get destroyed by some, doubled surprise attack or something like that. So I've stacked the commander's damage, but he's still got the same 5 he had, but now he's got 5 fortifications to hopefully keep him alive. Okay, my 4 new cards. Got the one that discards the top card. Look at the top card. Look at the top card again. This is actually going to be my game-winning card, potentially. The one that moves somebody. I'll show you how in just a second. Okay, hopefully these guys won't do anything crazy. That's right, it's that fast move to nowhere because the commander's already right in the face of his enemy. Where's the ocelots? Oh, this could be really bad. I'm glad I added that extra fortification. The ocelots with the gear icons, which are both the guys who can shoot at the commander, are going to combine their attacks, and they're going to be bold. So I need to roll this die, and if I roll really high, they'll get a lot of extra damage, and it could be devastating. Ooh, oh, that worked out great. One actually makes them -1, so they kind of overcalculated their attack. Let's see what the actual effect is. So again, when people are attacking at the same time on the same target, it gets combined. So they would normally be 3 plus 3 is 6. Because they were each -1, they are now 2 plus 2 is 4. So they remove 4 fortifications, but that's as far as they get. They do not actually injure the commander at all. Now, checking win conditions, remember the macaws are already ready to withdraw, but the ocelots need one more. Let's show you a little trick to get them there. I mentioned earlier this little torch icon on the tower that this ocelot archer is guarding. If he is ever moved off of that or defeated, that's actually giving his side 1 motivation. So moving him off of it will lower his side's motivation by 1, which is exactly what I need. And hey, I just happen to have a fun little card that can let me do just that. So I am going to play Friendly Guide to be able to bring somebody with me and just get myself some movement. And I will go, hello, and bring him off. His size motivation immediately falls down to 2, but again, I have to survive until the end of the round before I actually check for victory and resolve the end of the mission. Now, unless you think that's enough, don't forget the commander has no fortifications left, so I'm definitely going to look at the cards of the ocelots and make sure they're not going to defeat him right now with a really badly timed strike. Okay, so I'll use 1 influence. Cover. I am okay with that. We should be safe to go. Okay, the macaw are doing a twin cover. Not going to really matter much because those guys aren't even in the battle. And the ocelots are going to do a surprise cover, which would randomly determine whether they're slow, normal, or fast, but again, not going to matter. They're both just kind of hunkering down, totally demoralized. And I have reached a victory condition. I'm going to win this scenario because both armies are ready to withdraw. Neither of them is feeling confident enough to drag out the fight and maybe get more people killed. And you can kind of see why the ocelot forces have lost their defenses and are really damaged, but the commander is also completely overextended. So he's going to turn tail and flee. Turn a tail feather, I guess. And the ocelots, I guess, kind of win the day because they at least held their bridge. And I did mention the fun flavor text. They have a different set of text for each scenario, for each result. So let's go ahead and read what happens here. Expressing enthusiasm or relief aren't Marin's biggest strengths. Marin is, by the way, the guy who has kind of hired you to help stop this war. Still, he felt both of them more than he had in years after hearing what the adventurers had accomplished. He put his thoughts on paper and sent the letter to the adventurers. I might even go as far as to admit that I had minor doubts about this plan, doubts that have now vanished. Don't let this first success lower your guard, though. Future endeavors will need your full concentration, and hubris born of success will only hinder you. If we continue involving ourselves in these matters and influencing the right folks, this incident can be over sooner than I ever dared to hope. The Kuchia scouts did not take over the outpost, true, but their commanders will get the details about the border defenses. That is what they were after in the first place. What they choose to do with that information is out of our hands. At least for the time being, I will see what I can scrape together. Meanwhile, you should follow the river downstream where you'll find Mariokin Bridges, the primary river crossing in the area. If House Kuchia decides to invade, that will be the obvious choice of route, and I will need you when they arrive. The letter ends with a wish and more words of encouragement. Good luck and safe travels. This was an important first step. Marin's letter was certainly something new for the adventurers. In their usual careers, appreciative words had been few and far between. Having finished reading the letter, the adventurers head east with their next mission fresh on their minds. And I will note that you also get outcome cards that will affect the next mission in minor ways based on whether you won or lost. So, that is the first scenario of Dawn of Peacemakers. I'm going to do at least one more playthrough to show a more complex scenario with a lot more stuff going on, a lot more challenges. But for now, good gaming everyone, and I'll see you at the next stop.